We have our next presenter, Mr. Amol Prasadi, Head of Supply Chain Management, Metro Brands Limited. He is a dynamic leader with 18 plus years of experience in the entire supply chain gamut, leading over all supply chain for the organization, covering warehousing and distribution, inventory management, procurement, manufacturing, imports, exports, new product and service development. Prior to Metro, he was working with Kaya Limited, Red Bull, Cafe Coffee Day and Narmad Infra. Well, can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Amol?
A very warm welcome to all the delegates, the panel members, the speakers, and I'm glad UBS Forums have today arranged this session for all the service consumers and service providers. Also quite engrossing sessions by Pavel and Dhaval. I could see the engagement levels of the delegates and they were very much engrossed into that. So my today's topic for discussion is something which everybody likes to do. Okay, everybody likes to buy something new. Okay, tomorrow you go to a restaurant, you want a new restaurant, you want to eat, have a new cuisine, you go to a shopping, you want to have a new mobile, you want to have a new cap, new shoes. Okay, so here I'm going to discuss about product life cycle. Okay, we love to have new products in our cupboards, but when we go to buy, there are a lot of supply chain, supply planning, forecasting, demand forecasting which goes behind it. So I'll just start initially with a small question, and you can just raise your hand and tell what you feel. So how much percentage of product launch are successful? 50%? How many people? Wow. 30%? 5%. Okay, so that's the success rate of any new product launch. Okay, so 95% of the products being launched, out of 100, 95 products are failing. Okay, they never go beyond a quarter or even a 6 months, and the amount of losses, overall inventory, the planning, the amount of time, the amount of R&D we guys are doing behind it to get the product to the market, and we see at the end the budgets that we're spending behind it are totally going to dustbin. Okay, so before I start, talk about my company. Metro Brands, established in 1955. We are present in 143 towns with 628 outlets. We have our own brands called Metro, Mochi, Walkway, which are MBOs, multi-brand outlets. Then we also have exclusive rights for Crocs and FitFlop in India. So these are EBOs that we are operating right now. And I'll be concentrating more on the product life cycle, okay, into the fashion retail side, because that's one of the industry which has numerous launches happening every month, every quarter. So that's the fastest industry which is moving as compared to any of the industry what we have today. So when you see the pyramid of any product introduction or product cycle what we have, okay, so, and specifically about footwear, accessories, product range, at the top sits the seasonal launches. Okay, so in India if we have summer, we have winter, we have monsoon. So lot of fashion retail and accessories brands have seasonal launches. Then they have the freshness, because every time you go to a shop, you only get pulled inside a shop when you see something fresh and new. You won't go to a shop if you don't see anything new. Anyhow, that's in my wardrobe. Okay, so the freshness is second. Third is a variety. Okay, I already have one pattern of a suit or a shoe, but I want a different color. Okay, within same I want a different design, within same I want a different comfort. Okay, that's talking about variety. And then there is a core. So core is a product which is selling throughout the year. Okay, a base product of the company. So talking about Metro, we have 22,000 SKUs, okay, spread across all these categories, and managing supply planning and forecasting for this is a humongous challenge. And it's not just Metro, you take any other fashion retail, the amount of SKUs that are getting introduced in the first top two slots, and then they're driving down into the core and variety of the SKUs. So if I say seasonal launches are planned much more ahead. So if I had to do some summer launch, it is planned 2 quarters before, monsoon launch 2 quarters before. So these are very planned launches. Okay, so there's a strategy at the start of the year. You have a complete new product launch plan. What is there? Okay, the entire marketing team, the R&D team, the design teams, the sales team, everybody is aligned what is getting launched. While what I see, the freshness and the variety is a monthly launch. Okay, because every time you're visiting something, you need to see something fresh. Okay, so within the same category, you're relaunching, redesigning the product. So maybe the base of the product remains same, but you keep on redesigning. And then it forms the core of the SKU. From all the top, if something performs well, forms a core SKU. Okay, the top sellers come down and form the core SKU. And whatever is non-seller, okay, post a quarter has to be phased out. Okay, so when you see a product life cycle into fashion retail, something which is not selling in 90 days is phased out, either you put in EOSS or you put on the e-commerce channel on a heavy discounting, or you just push it out. Also in the core SKUs, there will be always some 10% of the tail SKUs which are not performing, so you have to keep on churning them out from your system. So whenever you're doing any of the new product launches, a product launch can't be across all your outlets, across India, across your distributor or town A, B, C, D category. Okay, any first product launch, okay, which is happening, the focus has to be A category stores, okay, A category cities, where you see the business is very high volume for you. Okay, and this gives you a visibility of how much you have to plan. Okay, you know what is your business in the A category cities or outlets. Okay, what is the sell through, how much inventory you need to procure, manufacture, place orders with the suppliers or import. Okay, this gives a complete visibility of your demand which is going to generate from you. Then the B category outlets only get 50% of the new launches. Okay, again the B category towns, you have price points, you know what is the buying method of the customers, based on that you define, and whatever sells the best in A and B only goes to C. So C category cities, outlets or anybody never gets the fresh stock. Okay, the new launches, you try it out here, you make it a success, and then you gear up your complete demand supply chain to put the stocks what is selling best here. So that is one of the strategy what on the supply planning side we do when you are working the product life cycle. So generally a supply planning starts from a supplier. Okay, you already have closed on your designs, your R&D is done, the product is designed, everything is right. You find a supplier. If you don't have a manufacturing plant, okay, you find a supplier who's going to make it for you. Okay, then it connects to the warehouse. Okay, then the warehouse availability, you did set up a replenishment model for your stores and the store availability, and then there is success and failure. Okay, and this cycle keeps on repeating. Okay, this is a perfect supply planning cycle for any of the products that we're introducing. Okay, and the product mix works on that. But when you're doing that thing, okay, there are very few 6 points where every supply planner has to focus on. One is the right mix. Okay, looking at seasonal freshness, variety and core. Do we have the right mix of the products that are being refilled into the stores or in the cities? There has to be a fixed life cycle. Like I said, 90 days. Okay, in first 90 days you come to know whether the product is gonna sell or it's not gonna sell. Okay, beyond 90 days, if you're doing any types of scheme, EOSS, heavy discounting, okay, it's not gonna work. That has been a gross principle observed across categories. Okay, not only in fashion retail, every segment of the business, if the product is not selling in 90 days, it will not sell. Then is launch and kill. Okay, you're launching numerous products, be prepared to kill that product. Okay, don't keep on, if it's not selling, if it's not performing, putting a lot of money behind that product is not going to work. Okay, so when you are strategizing a product life cycle, okay, and you're working on the supply planning side, you should be able to kill a product after maybe 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whenever you are done with the inventories. Use life cycle as a lever. Okay, so when you have a complete life cycle design for a product, okay, flushing out the products from the system is a good lever to optimize your inventory, optimize your planning and reduce your portfolio. There has to be a calendar, okay, a launch calendar, how you are going to review the product life cycle, after how many days the feedback has to go to the management or the business teams. Okay, and secondly, there has to be a very good feedback loop. So entire thing has to be working as a well-oiled machine. There has to be a loop where all the information flow is flowing back and back and back into your business teams. So generally on the supply planning side, this has to be the focus. And on the product split, Okay, generally what we should do, there are three categories generally follow. The head SKUs are your top sellers, the belly SKUs are your medium sellers, and the tail SKUs are very bottom sellers. So when you are doing entire supply planning, okay, your head SKU has to be the focus, because these is giving you the major part of your revenues. So 70% of your revenue generally come from the very few top sellers. So if you see the sales skewness or the sales by product, it's always few percentage of SKUs giving the highest sales to you, then a large percentage of SKUs giving a medium sale, and then the largest part giving the smallest sale. So overall split when you're doing entire supply planning, inventory planning, production planning has to be that you focus on the head SKUs and limit the HBT split at the storage point. So right from your distributor, stores, your warehouse, your manufacturing, and back to your sourcing, you should know that the focus has to be on your H category, okay, because that's the where your revenue is coming from. Okay, so limit your buying, your storage at every point, so by this percentage. Okay, so this covers any of the hiccups that are coming on the supply chain side. Okay, so we are building a pipeline for the 70% of those 70% of revenue, which is very critical for our business. Ordering only for H&B, that's generally the trend. Tail SKUs anyway you consolidate and then move to different sales point. The T category SKUs should be cross-shipped wherever they are H&B. So there may be a product which is selling good in Mumbai but not selling good in Delhi. So you should be ready to move that product from Delhi to Mumbai. So we always think, should I move a product from west to east, south to north? Please move it, because what happens when you're keeping the inventory at distributor point, a store point, it is not selling, definitely is going to become a dead inventory in few months or down the line 6 months and 1 year. So better is that you define the sales days, in how many days the inventory should get reduced or sold off. If it is not happening, pull back the inventory maybe to your distributor point, to a warehouse, and ship to that location where you are able to sell the product. So this is very critical. A lot of companies do not take a quick decision on cross shipment. That creates a lot of dead inventory across the system and your capital which is blocked against that. And the final point is the T should be discontinued and made nil, and discounted and made nil and discontinued. So in however ways, like either you make it an H&B and sell in the areas where you are able to sell it, or if you have a channel like e-commerce, or if you have a wholesale channel or a discounted channel, just liquidate the inventories. One of the key things that always we are looking is that we need a stable growth. Okay, we do not need a growth where the growth is so fast but we go out of inventory, we have supply disruptions, we have excess inventories. So always the main goal for any of the organization or the supply chain team should be that we have a very stable growth. And some of the key things that would work in supply chain optimization for a product life cycle is vendor management. If you are a company who is based on a supplier, okay, so the most critical part, your vendors have to be completely aligned on your way you are doing businesses, the way you do a product life cycle, and bring them on a VMI model. It's vendor managed inventory model. Give them a complete visibility of the inventories that you are holding, what you are selling. Don't keep them blind, because a lot of organizations, I said, you just share a forecast with them. Don't share a forecast. Also share what you are selling. Okay, what are your dead inventories? What is the store at every storage point? How many inventory? And you then agree on the number of days what we are going to hold in my stores or in my distributor points at my warehouse, and what he has to hold. If you get VMI model right, there are rarest of rare scene where you will have a stock out situation or excess inventory situation. Deleverage. Don't be dependent always on L1. Do business with L1, L2, L3, okay, and then average out your pricing. A lot of organizations still are always working on the L1 concept, and it's I'll say a bomb which we all experienced here. Okay, so there are a lot of L1 vendors sudden the price surge and they couldn't work with you, and your entire business was dependent on L1. So don't work with the L1 vendor. Work with L1, L2, and L3. Split your businesses between them. Average out the pricing. Do a scientific buying. Like I said, see how much inventory has to be kept at each storage point. You need to have a tool which calculates all your forward in transit, warehouse, and open purchase orders which are there with the vendor, calculates in a scientific way and believe numbers. I have seen a lot of buyers, category managers, they are always saying we know business well than what the numbers are. But I say numbers never lie. Stick to the numbers. You can tweak the numbers, but make the numbers the base for the buying. And if you want to tweak the numbers 5, 10%, 20% as what the inputs you're getting from the sales team and the buyers team, go for it. Build an inventory pipeline. We always talked about agile, lean, and we went so agile and lean that we're never ready for what is happening currently. Okay, so always have some inventory in the pipeline. Ultra lean, ultra agile, we did for many years. It definitely helped us, but I think the scenario that is coming in front of us for next 6 months, 1 year is not that. If your company has deep pockets, convince your management that building few larger inventory is going to help you in long term. Auto replenishment, align buffers to reduce redundancy, map storage capacity to demand supply tools. So auto replenishment is very key. Okay, right now a lot of things sometimes we depend on the manually orders which are coming. Generally set buffers at each point. So we are setting buffer right from our each and every outlet to transit to warehouse to my supplier. So everybody has to set a buffer. Buffer means what is the safety stock, what I have to keep. So it doesn't work that a replenishment model works only on the store level. It has to be at every level. Every level has to keep on getting replenished, and due to that we have buffers at each and every level. Second point on the supply planning side, which we saw majorly, the storage capacity doesn't match to the supply planning what is being done. So rarely I've seen any supply planning tool or a replenishment tool knowing what is your storage capacity at a store or a distributor. So generally we see a sales skewness in the last week of a month. The companies push stock to the distributors or the stores saying that 30%, 40% sales are going to come in the last week, and your vehicles go and stand there. And what happens, because we never have mapped what is my storage capacity for my distributor or storage capacity of my store to take that much stocks. So somehow one of the biggest missing point what we have seen, the supply planning tool or the replenishment tool doesn't consider the storage capacities at your stores or distributors. So this is one of the points which I have always been telling a lot of planners who are building the tool, that how you map that is very critical. Build in seasonality, disruptions, peak and low demand cycle, and in the forecasting tool. So wedding season for us is a very big season. So what we do, what are the muhurats coming next year, are built in the supply planning tool, because you'll see a sudden surge into the fancy footwear. Okay, that is one of the things. Then we have Eid, we have Diwali, we have a lot of other festivals coming in. So build that surges which are coming in. Okay, so even we see what are the number of muhurats which are coming in. So if the muhurats are less, then we reduce what we have to increase the volume. If the muhurats are more, we increase into that. So build in all such seasonalities which you are going to experience. SKU portfolio review based on SOPs agreed with the business team. So SKU portfolio analysis. So we all love to add new SKUs, but we rarely do a SKU portfolio analysis saying what are my head, belly, tail. So make it a particular thing in your SNOPs, that every month SNOP shows how every SKU bucket or category bucket is doing. And then you will see there are a lot of redundant SKUs which needs to be phased out. And it's really a big push which has to be done at each level. So these are the key points which I have covered, and a few more. Decide and limit portfolio range. So at the start of the year, when you do the business plan with your business teams and the marketing team, freeze on number of SKUs that you're going to add and also you're going to remove from the system. Because we have seen a lot of times in between there is new trend, new fashion, and suddenly somebody will come and say, okay, we want to launch this also. But if it is completely out of plan and a supply chain is not geared for it, the launch is not going to be successful. Most of the systems are not robust to handle. So Pavel, I think, mentioned that thing, that we are not seeing into the future, or even Dhaval mentioned the systems are not there to handle exceptions. Yes, that's very right. All the tools are built to handle the regular mechanism of work. Okay, how we build exceptions. Okay, so there are a lot of concepts how you build exceptions in the system. ask your planning tool company or the agency what you're working, okay, build in those exceptions in the system, okay, which have occurred in last 50 years or last 100 years, okay. That is one of the key things. And plan with reference to the historical data that you already have. Cross shipments I already mentioned. Don't keep idle inventory at any point of the store, keep on moving the inventories. And set up limit for month of forward inventory based on category and not overall inventory. So we always see inventory overall, okay, how many months of inventory I'm carrying. So instead of looking at the overall inventory on the supply planning side and the product life cycle, you should see that at every category and every SKU level how much inventory I'm holding. So that is very critical for that. Thank you.
We have questions, 2 questions. Okay, 3 questions. Can we have the mic, please?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for some of the interesting insights. My name is Sandeep Tulsian from Rosari Biotech Limited. My question is on the VMI, which you touched upon. So I would like to understand, like, in the post-GST scenario, how far practically you are able to implement VMI? Because my understanding is you need to pay the vendor has to raise the invoice, you need to make a payment, and it's unlike the pre-GST scenario where in the true sense VMI we were able to implement. So if you can throw some more light on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. I think pre-GST, post-GST, the science behind VMI has not changed. Only the way you put the agreement with the suppliers have changed. Okay, so what generally we do at our end, we have commitments to buy the inventory what they are keeping for us. So when I say we are doing a VMI, every day there's a complete agreement how many days of inventory we are going to hold at our stores, we are going to hold at our warehouse, and correspondence how much he has to hold for us, okay. And as and when that threshold level of inventory goes down at my warehouse, he is replenishing that inventory, and there is a commitment to the supplier that whatever, like 15 days, 20 days of ready inventory is going to hold for us. Even if the product is not selling, we're going to buy that inventory, okay. And the billing for that only happens when the product reaches my warehouse. So anyway, for him, it being a core SKU, and generally this is done for core SKU, not the new introduction. So like 70% of your business is core SKU, 30 comes from the fashion, seasonal, and all those SKUs. So for the core SKUs where he knows that I'm going to keep on getting the repeated orders, and he has a visibility of daily sales and daily replenishment which are happening from my warehouse, he's happy to hold that 15 days of ready inventory with us, and he bills the day he replenishes the stock to me. So pre-GST and post-GST, we have not seen any change in the behavior.
Just a follow-up question. So he is holding the inventory at your warehouse?
His warehouse.
His warehouse.
Location.
So he's not invoicing it to you?
Yeah, he's not invoicing.
Okay.
Because he invoices only when that safety stock buffer is broken at my warehouse.
Okay, clear. I thought he is keeping at your outlets or...
They are keeping.
Yeah.
So it's the way you do your commercial agreements with your suppliers.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
May I?
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Amol. You given a lot of insights, right? So, see, Uttam Desai from Repro India, right? We are into book industry. So we do the printing and we do the sell. We sell also the books, right? So you touched upon the regular launches of the products, right? So we have almost 10 million of SKUs, and regularly we are adding almost 1,000, 2,000 SKUs in a week, right? So in that, I would like to understand that what kind of key factors we should take, right, while doing the demand forecasting when we are launching the product, right? Okay. So can you put some light on that?
Yeah. So when we launch the product, like I said, we only focus on the category A level towns or category A level outlets first. So an entire focus is that if it sells properly there, okay, it will sell in my B category and C category. So when we doing a demand forecasting, the forecasting and the buying plan is only made for that A category. So when I say A category is maybe my 40% of the business, 50% of the business. So entire planning is done only that part of the business, and we review after every month for the initial 3 months how the sales are going through. Okay. Secondly, what happens if that after 90 days we see that's a success, it gets into the B category, again 90 days review, then it go to the C category, and then it becomes a core SKU for us. So that's one of the strategy which has to be adopted across, I think, most of the retail or even the distributor based model. If it don't go and launch in such a big way that tomorrow if it fails, you are not able to either liquidate a product, okay, or not even call it back and do a EOSS or do a discounted sale on the e-commerce. Secondly, you need to have a plan at the time of inception. Okay, what if this product doesn't work? So we have like there are wholesalers, there are discount channels. So tomorrow there is strategy. I am going to buy this much quantity and I am not going to get a sell through of that product. In which channel it is going to go? So there has to be a pre-sign off with the business and the marketing team on that. I'm launching this. It's not being sold. Where I'm going to liquidate it? So a lot of companies do a launch, do a wonderful launch, do great marketing campaign, but they don't have a strategy what I'm going to do with the product if it doesn't perform. So that final leg of thing has to be built up in your plan.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So after this, we can take one more question. Yeah, two more questions, and then we'll proceed ahead.
Hi, thanks for the session. I have only one question to ask you. You mentioned, see, of course, you're from a different industry. I'm from the core manufacturing, where it's very traditional. We do buying very traditionally. So you mentioned something about, L1, L2, L3 vendors. Correct me if I'm wrong. You said you need to average out the pricing, right? In the traditional setup, as you rightly said, everyone just goes with the L1 vendors. So do you mean that, if I understand correctly, what the spend was last year, if it equates to the same in this year, if I consider L2 and L3, do you mean it in that sense, or what do you mean? Yeah. I mean, how do you average out? What do you mean by averaging it out?
So whenever you do a price discovery by any zero-based costing or auction and everything, you always get L1, L2, L3 suppliers, okay? And you have a margin for each product, okay? So your cost of goods, your margin, your MRP, okay, is everything linked to each other, okay? So tomorrow if you see, if I'm procuring from L1, my cost of good is 20 rupees, okay? Then there are taxes and my margins and my MRP, okay? You need to build in a system where even that 20 rupees can become 22 rupees and you can still sell on MRP of whatever you have decided and your margin remains intact. So we never say ki this is going to be one touch point. We say we give a range of pricing ki my buying is going to be between 20 and 22. Okay, so the major buying, I'll say like 60-70% buying happens from the L1, but still the rest 30% buying will keep on happening from L2 and L3 also. So this is to deleverage your risk of depending on one supply chain. Instead of giving one price point as a COGS, you give a range of your price point or an average price which is coming from there.
Hi Amol, just one last question. So in the presentation, we just saw that on an average for the frequent and the variety category, we have monthly new launches, roughly.
Yeah.
So I have like two parts to my question. First is, what is the approximate percentage variation that we see in new products at Metro? And secondly, how do we, take the approach of forecasting for those new products?
Okay. So the variety is a subset of current core product. So if I have a formal black shoe, I may have a wine color shoe and I have a tan color shoe. Okay, so the core SKU remains same, and basis the demand that we see for a different variety, because already customer has came and bought a black color shoe, and tomorrow a same customer coming maybe likes the same comfort, same design, but wants a different color shoe. Okay, so we have a weekly launches, and the launch again, as I told, we only do for A category. Okay, so hardly for a variety we have a 25% variety target, okay, within the same core SKU group what we have. And then we have fashion is something which is upcoming. Fashion is every quarterly, every 6 months the fashion keeps on changing. What are the trends in the market, and looking at what are the trends in the market, we do launch every monthly a different sort of fashion. So again the fashion means it's not a complete different SKU. It may be a woman chappal with different stripes. Okay, the fashion is on the design, but the base remains same. Okay, so again then there is a variety target, there is a fashion target. Okay, so variety target is 25% and fashion target is again 15%, 20%.
So basically for planning for that or forecasting for that, we use the same variety, the previous variety
Yeah,
for.
so
as
what
a
happens is, since the base remains the same and it's only the change of color or the change of simple design, so the planning cycle for that is not that humongous as we do for a new introduction. Because when I say I have to just go for a for a wine color shoe instead of black color shoes, it's only the way the coloring process changes. The rest everything remains same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Amol sir, for this wonderful presentation. For the felicitation, may I please invite Mr. Sachin Gupta from Shell? Yes, Sachin sir. Thank you so much, Amol sir, for this wonderful presentation, sharing your knowledge with us.